Hi, I'm Bill Patton with 720 Degree Coaching, and today we're going to have a special presentation on best practices for establishing and growing a 10 and under program, especially using red, orange, green balls. And with me, I have my good friend, Irwin Bebe Montalvo, who's my good friend from Facebook, and I've actually been to his place. And one thing you can notice right away is that we have similar taste in decorations behind us. So that's an interesting thing right there. We've got the kind of the impressionistic prints on the wall. Irwin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing well, and it's good. So good to see you, my friend.
Same here. Same here.
All right.
Come back and visit again. Or I gotta go visit you.
Let's dive right into it. I mean, what we're doing here is we're maximizing the opportunity that we have with the coronavirus going on to be able to create some stuff and do some positive things while we're sort of shut in. My county has pretty much ordered us to stay inside for 3 weeks, 3 full weeks. So you only get to go out if something you got to do. So anyway, all right. So let's talk about 10 and under tennis and let's get into some of the best practices. So where do you want to start with how to set it up and how to keep it going and grow it?
Well, for me, the very first thing that I look at when setting up or start growing a program is going to be who's running. It's going to be about the coach and the mental approach that coach have. The one thing that I've learned through the years, not every coach can teach 10 and under. There's a lot of coaches there with a lot of really good certifications that are phenomenal coaches with high performance players, but you put them with a 5-year-old and they're lost. So that for me, that's important. You have to have somebody there that understands and knows how to teach little kids. Number two is, I like to look at not only there's just the knowledge part, but also like the personality. I think personality has a lot to do because as a coach, we always talk about connecting with the players regardless of age or level, but in 10 and under is even more important. We have to be able to get that connection. So, because I believe we have to teach the kids for them to develop, to love the game and to have a very good reason to come to the court. And I find through the years of doing 10 and under tennis that a lot of the kids at the beginning, they come in, they like the sport, but they also came in because they wanted to play with me. They wanted to have some fun with Coach Irwin. And that's how I started growing classes and little things like that. Then the rest, pretty much raising our hands as coaches to do our homework and to pass along the message. But for me, those are the best first two things that I look at when developing a program.
Okay, that's great. And that's interesting. And this is one of the things that I've been advocating for a while now is the way clubs hire coaches is a little skewed. I mean, I think clubs really go after former college players and former pro players and, are you a good player? And that's really not as important as what coaching skill set. And I believe that there need to be more grandma coaches and more grandpa coaches, more teenage coaches and more people who are 3.0, 3.5 players maybe, but they have the smarts to coach and they love the game enough that they can pass on the enthusiasm, and the beginner player doesn't know the difference. So,
I know.
So, look, when you're hiring a 10 and under coach, you really don't necessarily need a former Division I college player. Probably don't. In fact, you might not want that person teaching that class.
Exactly.
So, now one of my things is start with what's manageable. So at one particular, in the pre-show, I was discussing how at 3 different places I've created 10 and under programs. And I actually started using transition balls in 1999 when 99% of tennis pros didn't know what they were or thought they were stupid, right?
Yeah.
So, I incorporated those immediately into my beginner camps. And we went from having 25 kids a week to 39 kids a week. And we were actually exceeding our limit. And I had to tell the club owner, I'm like, no, we need a cutoff. We can't have 42 kids on 4 courts. It's just not there's not enough space to do it well, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But it was the transition balls that made that happen, because more kids could play and have fun and believe that they were good at it. With the normal balls, kids would get discouraged and they would think, I'm not good at this. And then they would not have fun. And then they also then didn't want to come to camp.
Yeah, true. I mean, you can get, with red ball, you can get about, 16, 24 kids minimum on a court. And they all are
right. So let's talk a little bit about your 10 and under experience, and how did you start growing your 10 and under program? What were some of the keys of things that you started to do differently that made it go better?
Well, I mean, for me, it all started when I was back in Minnesota, when the old club that I was, my old boss, Brian, basically when he gave me the shot to do it, I was an adult director, but I was going crazy. I couldn't do that. And he put me in charge of juniors. He liked my personality. I started growing it right away. I was having fun on the court with those kids at the beginning. There was classes, honestly, that I ran at the beginning that the kids didn't even hit a ball for literally the first 35 minutes. We just kept it to fun, throwing, catching, developing motor skills through just absolutely having a blast. And those same kids that were having fun were the kids that were my own recruiters, where I didn't even have to worry sometimes about making a phone call, because kids were bringing more kids in because of how much fun it was. And they were barely hitting a ball, but they were getting better because they were catching better, they were throwing better, they were getting in position to catch a ball. And then after that, we just started putting some proper technique in forehand, proper technique in backhands. But everything started with fun, man. For me, everything is fun. I'm going to have fun, I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to have fun.
Okay. And I think part of the magic behind that is that one of the things that is not taught enough in American tennis is receiving skills. Mm-hmm. And I think in recent years, that's become a point of emphasis, but not everybody knows that. Not everybody teaches that. There's too much emphasis on sending skills. How do you stroke the ball? How do you swing at the ball in order to get it to go that way? Instead of receiving skills of how do you get in position to receive the ball properly. And then really, I mean, good spacing, good positioning, good balance, good contact point, that solves 90% of the problems of how to play tennis.
Totally. I mean, I see it all the time.
I like what you're doing with catching and throwing and no racket yet.
No, just like I have kids throw a ball, for example, once I started going into the technique, for example, once I start teaching that technique to kind of get, little shoulder turn, unit turn, shallow swing, blah, 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 shallow loop, sorry. I like to tell them, I put like a red ball on their hands, right? Even if it's a green ball player, but the red ball, because it's bigger, I tell them to pretend that that's a racket. So pretend this is a racket and give me your swing. And they start doing the swing. And then I put at the other side of the net, I put it close to the net. And on the other side of the net, I put a basketball. And I say, you're going to have to do your swing, and you're going to throw the ball like if you were hitting the forehand, like Coach told you, and that ball needs to land inside the basket.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that the kids absolutely love a lot. But the more you look at it, because I video the kids, I'm not a guy that likes to tell a whole lot of times the kids what to do. I like to show them what to do. I'm a very visual coach. But if you look at it this way, if you ever have a kid do a shallow swing with no racket and a ball in their hand and release the ball and put the ball in a simple target, I want you to take a video and look at it. The moment the ball releases the hand equals the contact point when the kid hits the ball, if they want to put the ball in a specific spot. And it's actually a lot of fun, especially with a kid that has problem receiving skills. Right away, the kid is going to start finding success. Hey, I can throw this ball and try to put it in the basket. So you start giving the kid a fun exercise with a high margin for them to find success, which is going to put a foot on the court again. They want to come back, and then from there, you start building more and more and more. Little things like that, man. We just got to keep breaking it down. I like to find drills that, like I've been saying, fun, but that you can adapt them to work on that specific thing. And just, now, outside the box. Thinking outside the box.
Are you familiar with Jack Brody? Jack Brody's
little bit.
I like his program a lot, and I've learned a lot from him. And I would say he's solidly in my top 5 of most influential tennis coaches with the way I teach. Okay. And then one of the concepts that you were kind of sharing there is how release points, are similar to contact points. And then that's a really big part of his program is that there's this approximately 45 degrees away from you is where you make contact. And if you look at pros, they're almost always hitting the ball approximately 45 degrees away from them. And if they're not, it's because somebody put them under tremendous pressure. Yeah. So, but and then when the way a hockey player strikes the puck is about 45 degrees away, right? Release ball, batting. I mean, there are a lot of so the biomechanics of that are a really solid concept. So the cool thing is, though, you're teaching that, and it's not necessarily a lecture. They're discovering it, and they discover something, and then they start to do it, and then it was almost painless, right?
It is. It is. It's unbelievable, and you just see it in the kids' reaction. Just look at the kids' reaction, how much fun they have, and how they do it. And it's a simple exercise, man. It's something that is very simple. It makes a lot of sense, but it's also the coach has to do their job in terms of finding those exercises to try to make it fun for the kid and vary the drills, not to do the same thing. Yeah, you do have to repeat. There's a lot of repetition in tennis, but you want to change it to keep it different for the kids every day. Have something new,
Okay, let's shift into the programming of it. And I'll start by telling you a story, and then we can probably ping pong back and forth off of this. So, I came into this one club, and the way they had the junior program set up was just awful. It's terrible, and the discipline was awful. It was unsafe to be on those courts because the kids were doing dangerous things all the time. And the so-called advanced juniors, had like no concept of their contact point. And so here I'm trying to teach fundamental stuff to these kids who are ranked juniors, but they could be 100% better if they just knew a couple of things. But the way the program had been set up with this sort of chaotic thing, it fell apart because they can't tolerate the new sheriff in town. So, okay, my junior program fell apart. So now what am I going to do? I got to work on my 12 and unders. I got to work on my youngest kids, and we're going to restart this junior program. We're going to do it right. Mm-hmm. So what did I do? I started with one red ball class and one orange ball class. That was it. No. We might have had 2 red ball classes and 1 orange ball class, right? Mm-hmm. Ages 5 to 7, and ages 6 to 8. So there's a little bit of overlap. So then that was in the fall, and then a lot of the kids in the red ball got really good really fast, and they moved to orange ball. So now we had 3 red ball classes and 2 orange ball classes in the winter, right? Because it used to be called Quick Start, and I think Quick Start is a better name, and that's the mentality we should have. Not that we have to keep kids in red forever, but we should move them up as quickly as we can with certain criteria. Okay, so then go to the springtime. Then what we did, kids were just flooding into the program. They were telling their friends, And then we ended up with 3 red ball classes, 3 levels of orange ball class. So we had orange ball that was like stroke development.
Yeah.
We had orange ball that was point play. And then we had orange ball that was match play. And in order for the kids to get to the green ball class, so here was our criteria. And then we also started another class that was a thing where it was a combination of green balls and sort of dead yellow balls. Because I wanted not only the kids to be able to rally with the green ball, but also to feel the weight of the regulation tennis ball, even though it's not brand new. So anyway, our criteria for moving up was you had to be able to play a match without losing your stroke integrity.
But that's orange, right? You said orange?
So in order to move from red to orange, you had to be able to play a match, and your strokes had to hold together while you were playing a match.
Okay.
And if you could do that, then you can move to the lowest level of orange.
Okay.
And if you're the top level of orange, you could go on to green if you can play a match and your stroke integrity is the same. But as soon as kids started doing all sorts of weird stuff to try to win, then we're like, no, you're not ready to move up yet.
Exactly. Yeah. I tell the kids, SFT, see the ball, feel the ball, trust your shots. They have to trust their shots. SFT, I learned that from a book that I read that is called 7 Days in Utopia.
Okay, FST.
S as in Sam.
Yes.
F as in Frank, T as in Tom. See the ball, feel the ball, trust your shot. That's my system.
Okay.
SFT.
Helps a lot. No, that's really cool. So go a little deeper into that. So explain it in detail.
So in tennis, we always talk about ball tracking skills. You have to track the ball. We were just talking about receiving skills. So for you to receive skills, you have to be able to follow a ball really well. So I teach the kids. I keep it simple with the 10 and unders. Like you said, we actually have 3 days a week, but instead of 3 different levels, we have 2 levels of red, orange, and 1 level of green only. But we teach the kids, see the ball, see the ball, see the ball. And then when they hit the ball, I go probably a little bit more, we go a little bit more into depth probably than some other people, where we try to teach them the feel of the shot. When they know when you hit a good ball, when you should start learning when you hit a good ball and when you didn't hit a good ball, that you can feel, not only feel, but also the sound of the ball of the racket. Sometimes you hit on the strings, not on the frame, but you're hitting on the edge. So that's a different feel. You're going to get a little bit of vibration on the racket. You know how it is. So we kind of go through that. And then we end up the concept, just like you said, if you cannot keep your stroke, you can move up, right? Well, I tell them to trust their shots. They need to trust their stroke. So I said, hey, trust it. Go through it. Trust your shot. Do the right thing. If you miss, who cares? This is practice. This is where you leave your bad shots. And the kids are responding pretty well to it. I mean, they like that. They understand it. And, I make them, when in the see the ball part, you can get super creative, where like, I tell the kids, either I split the courts in zones, and then they need to tell me before the ball bounces where the ball is going to bounce.
Yeah.
So see the ball and recognize where the ball is going to be at. Little things like that. So they need to say 1. That means the ball bounces into zone 1. 2. And then that's part of seeing the ball. You have to see it and know where the ball is going.
Yeah.
At that age, if you have a kid, especially a kid that is very talented, that's something that is very important for us coaches to develop, because the older they get, if they don't get that, it's just going to be a headache for both. It's going to be tough. We have to find a way to get those kids to understand the watching the ball tracking skills, and like you said earlier, ball receiving skills. Sorry, I'm very big on that. It's probably one of the I focus quite a bit more on receiving than sending.
Okay. All right, I want to break that down Bill Patton style now, because I really like what you just did there. All right, so now, from visual training for tennis, one thing that I get into with all of my lesson people in their first lesson is there's a system of playing tennis. There's a system of a tennis shot, right? So it starts with contact of the ball and the strings.
Yes, sir.
Then the ball flies over the net. Then it bounces. Then it goes into your strings. Then it flies away and it bounces, and then it contacts those strings. End of system. That's the system. Okay, so the first thing that happens is you see the ball coming out of the strings. If when you attend, when your eyes are trained at the contact point of your opponent, your brain gathers so much information, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of information gathered, but if you don't pay full attention to that, your brain doesn't have enough information.
Exactly.
And then from there, then you track the ball out of the strings. And it's really amazing how my beginner players pick up very quickly on the idea of I didn't see the ball coming out of your strings. And that made it more difficult for me.
Oh, yeah.
Now, every time I pick it up out of your strings and I make my first reaction by now, then it's a lot easier. Vic Braden said that by the time the ball is out of the racket by 2 feet, your brain knows with 95% accuracy where it's going to land. Where does the other 5% come from? The wind, the heaviness of the heaviness of conditions, some other thing about the court that is making the ball slow down or speed up, right? The heat, right, of the court.
Yep.
So, the atmosphere, lots of different things change where the ball's going by a little bit. But I mean, you can move now. You know where the ball is going now, so you can take off.
Yeah.
So, and then let me go a little further too. So then, when you were talking about feel, then that's building in awareness.
Yes.
So instead of analysis, you're building in the ability for the player to start to feel and to try to experience what's happening instead of trying to analyze a problem.
Yeah.
It's a different thing in your brain. It's easier to just go, oh yeah, I framed that one.
Yeah.
And then finally, the awareness of what are you doing? What's the effect? Where did the ball go? And then, so what have I done to my opponent?
Yeah.
That's so important. All right.
It's cause and effect.
Yeah. Okay. So now, in terms of the programming, where have you had challenges, or where have you had successes in tweaking the program? Meaning, like, how you scheduled the classes and how did you fit the kids into the program or fit the program to the kids?
The biggest challenge is always, at least we have 10 courts. I'm at a club. You've been in my club. We have 10 courts, so it's not too bad, but sometimes courts could even be an issue. Sometimes it can be, even though we have 10, because we also have a big high school program for after school. And we don't have a homeschool program, with a club, but you have all these high schools, all these kids, a bunch of them coming in. So you have days that the 10 or under can be huge, but we don't have dead days. We're pretty busy most of the time, but there's always a day that is worse than the others. Like Fridays is by far our biggest day. Is fun to watch. But the biggest challenge, I will start with courts in, is even availability of the kids sometimes, working with the parents to be able to fit them into especially the kids that you can see that are very talented, that that kid should be playing more than once a week, but then, both parents work, they don't have a nanny. I mean, you're always going to run into that. It's stuff that you can't control, but then also we have to find ways as a club and as a pro to try to fit them in based on what they need, because otherwise there's a big chance that kid either quit the sport or they'll go somewhere else. You know, there's the business side of it that we always have to look at it. You don't want to lose students. And I think those are one of the things, because in terms of materials and stuff, I think it's fine. At the beginning, I remember when red, orange, green first started, materials was tough. Not everybody had it, but now that's not an issue. Everybody should have everything, but schedule.
Yeah, I have to confess that I have not signed up for Net Generation.
Me neither. So we're
Okay, so now, but that
Pompeo.
exists. That generation is out there, and I'm sure they've got good materials. It's just I'm farther along than that, but I mean, I think a lot of people have said that there are some good materials there, and if you're just getting started, it's probably the best place to start. And then,
Probably.
I mean, and now let's drill down into what does a day on the court look like with these kids. All right. So why don't you do this? Why don't you run through a really good red ball lesson, and then how does an orange ball lesson differ, and then how does a green ball lesson differ?
So red ball, just to break it down, Bill Patton style, like you said.
You can't break it down my way. You got to break it down Irwin Bebe Montalvo style.
It starts with
all my life I've searched for the six-fingered man. My name is Irwin Bebe Montalvo.
Oh my gosh. You know, they tell Bebe, I put Bebe on Facebook, by the way, because in Puerto Rico, nobody calls me Irwin. If you say Irwin, who? Say Bebe, oh yeah, I know that guy. Yeah. Everybody calls me that. Anyway, a day of Red Bull there, for example, it starts with, I'm blessed to have a amazing staff. Our staff is unbelievable. They're responsible. They're reliable. Those guys are on time. When the class is going to start, everything has to be set up. Don't set up. Class is at 5. Coaches better not be there at 5 setting up. It better be set up by 4:50. So I'm blessed with that. The coaches get there early. Nets are ready. Targets are ready. Coach is waiting on the gate as kids come in because we do attendance. That's the first thing, in my opinion. It has to be key because you have to show the parent that you're ready to teach there. It's not, you can waste 10 minutes of the class getting ready or more. So you have to be ready. It's 60 minutes of class. You better be ready. That's how it starts. Then, from there, we do a very simple dynamic warm-up. We've been, this year, we've been specifically a little bit more disciplined in terms of introducing stretching to the kids. We're doing some stretching with them, disciplining them in terms of warming up. And, once we go through the warm-up, we throw a lot of balls. We start throwing and throwing, and it gets, you can work with it where you can throw and catch and have the kid take a couple steps and catch, depending on the level. I have kids throwing, catching, and the kid cannot move to catch, so the ball has to be specifically thrown to you. If you want to make it even more difficult, make the kid catch with 1 foot. That's like red advance. We have red beginner, red advance. You can throw patterns. You can throw down the line. We also put cones. Try to hit the cone as you throw the ball. Everything we do at the beginning is based on keep developing the motor skills of the kid. And it's actually a fun thing to go, not just after warm-up, let's start hitting balls right away and going back and forward. I just don't feel like I get a lot out of that.
One thing I like to do, I have this game called Toss, Hit, Catch. I think I know where I got this. It comes from NJTL. And I would highly recommend NJTL materials. Okay, so here's a game from NJTL. You have one kid at the net, and they toss a ball to another kid on the other side who's hitting to a kid who has to catch the ball. And when they successfully do that, if they catch it out of the air, they get a point. And then they give it back to the person who's the tosser, who tosses it to the hitter, who tosses it to the catcher. And there's an infinite number of ways you can structure that. But it's a really fun game. It kind of becomes a race. Yeah. And so they have to go fast, but they also have to control their shot.
They only throw, right? You saying this? They both throw?
One. Okay, so you have a tosser. They toss a nice feed to the hitter. The hitter hits it to the catcher. The catcher hands the ball to the tosser. Right?
Oh, so got you.
Yeah, and then you can do a number of those and then rotate the positions.
Yeah.
And that's a good... You can play that for a good 10, 15 minutes, and it builds a lot of different skills.
Oh, yeah.
So,
especially control.
Yeah. All right. So go on a little bit more about your red ball. And I think that's a perfect game for red ball, too.
Yeah, it's perfect. And, then after you do that, then you go into the basic topic of the day. Don't ever let a coach step into the court without a lesson plan. They go in, they know into the topic. That's when you go then. Our coaches go into the topic. Actually, in my club, Coach Ramon Gomez is the one involved the most, which is he's the director of the club. You met Ramon. He does a lot of 10 and unders. So I work with the competition kids. And Ramon does a really good job with them. And then after that, he goes into the topic. We break it down into, hey, we're going to work on backhands today. We're going to work on forehand, whatever. Then whatever the topic is, it will be addressed. And then the kids get some ball feeding, they get some rallying, whatever. And we always serve. There's not a day that the kid doesn't work on serving, and always end up with a super fun game. And sometimes, depending on how the kids did in terms of their engagement, we let them choose what game they want to play, or we choose what game they're going to play. It's usually what Ramon or I, if I run it, tell them. It's your choice. You guys put all the energy, you get to choose, and we do whatever you want. If we don't see the energy, you got to play my game. No, coach, no. So it becomes a super fun argument, you know?
Okay, I like that a lot because basically you're giving the kids a choice to behave and a reward for doing so, right? And it's not really punitive if you pick a game for them. I mean, it's still a game, right? You're going to play something. But, you want the right to choose. You got to act right. Okay, now I'm going to throw one out there. I have a game that I love with that level called Monkey in the Middle. And it's a 3-on-3 game. And I have anybody who's watching this, if you want the diagrams to that, I'll send them to you. I'll email them to you. I have a nice little diagram done.
Yeah, you need to send me that.
You know, it's a fun game because the kids run around, and if they win 3 straight points, then they get to go over to the other side and be the champions. And so it requires them to win 3 straight points, which is a really important thing to do on a tennis court. So why don't you pick it up? I'm going to turn the heater off here. So you tell a couple of games that you like to play.
I'll tell you what my favorite game to play with the kids, especially on Red Ball, I call him Beat the Coach. Once you tell the kids, let's play Beat the Coach, first of all, if they don't know it, they look at me like, what is Beat the Coach? And like, but what little 5-6-year-old would not like to defeat their coach, right? So usually what I do is when we keep the classes to a low ratio, usually we do about a 1-on-4, 1-on-5 ratio at the most in that level. You know, we always have 1 coach per net. So we have 4 kids a coach. I tell them beat the coach at the end, and they look at me and say, what is it? So if I have 4 kids and I see that I have, let's say, for example, I have the top court. So I have the top red balls. I said, hey, if you guys as a class can make 8 consecutive shots cross court with your forehand, let's say forehand was the topic of the day. So I feed them a ball, and if they can make 8 shots as a class, so you hit 1, get out, your next one hit 1, get out, next one hit that. So you have to go around twice each. You make 8 balls, you just beat the coach. I kind of play with it a little bit. When they're getting to like 5, I give them a meter feed on purpose just to mess with them a little bit. But at the end of the road, it's not like you want them to win, given the win, but you're going to kind of keep it to them that they can succeed. The faces when they beat me, I've taken some videos. They're pretty fun, man. Rackets. I got to sometimes watch out rackets fly out. But Beat the Coach is one of my favorite games because I like to play mad because I lost a game. You know, it's your personality, like I spoke to you at the very beginning of this interview. The personality of a coach is going to have a lot to do with what games you play with the kid, because to be a kid coach, a coach has to be a kid too, I believe. You have to kind of go into your own zone. When you go there, I go in my own zone. I said, I'm not almost 47 years old now. I'm 10 years old. I have to be 10. I have to think like a 10-year-old. It does help that I have 2 kids. So I kind of know what kids do, you know?
Yeah. In fact, okay, so I recently posted an article about the top 5 characteristics of an athlete-centered coach. And number 5, after you build on a lot of the things about life lessons and, you know, and how to keeping things appropriate. Number 5 is focusing on enjoyment. I mean, so now the funny thing is, I don't say, everything should be fun. Fun is not the goal, but you make the so-called work fun. If you can make the so-called work enjoyable, then the kids will continue. And so I posted this, and then I had a coach say, you need to drop number 5. Stick with the first 4, drop number 5. And I said, well, did you read what I wrote? Because I wasn't talking about just doing only fun stuff. I wasn't talking about always making it fun. I mean, but having an element of fun and being fun and making it enjoyable. That's, kids quit sports if it's not fun. And he continued to argue with me about this. I said, you don't enjoy coaching? And he said, oh, it's hard work and I enjoy the results. And I'm like, well, we don't agree, but enjoy your life and blessings to you. I don't think we're not going to argue about this.
Yeah, I like balance, where if I have to be tough with you, I'll be tough with you, but I will find the right moment, and it will be soon. Like if you're my student and I see that you're kind of a little out, I'm going to get on you. But you will see that not even within 5 to 6 minutes, you're going to be by me. I'm going to be by you, kind of like touching the shoulder. Hey, Bill, I love you, but let's get it done. Come on. You got to give them that love. They need to know that you're being tough because you care for them, but at the same time, you balance that fun into the class. That they're like, hey, this is fun. And the kids start understanding. There's good, there's tough.
Okay. I'm going to try to say this without cussing, all right? But, I'm serious as a heart attack when I'm at times, because if we're wasting time and we're being undisciplined and things aren't safe, you better believe everything stops. And we have an OSHA safety meeting right now, because we got to keep infants, we don't want to get down to 0 days without an accident, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but see, definitely the balance of care and concern, and actually I think kids really appreciate that when a coach takes the time to correct them a little bit, and then also to follow up and make sure that everything's okay and that we can get back to having fun.
Totally. A quick story. One of the things that makes my day, that makes me happy and proud as a coach is, for example, I moved from Minneapolis to Houston, and I ran in a place in Minneapolis for almost 11 years, and I have a lot of friends and a lot of players that I've worked with that were really, really good, top national players. But it's always fun when, like, for example, not too long ago, there was a level 2, 12 and under national tournament about 15 minutes away from me. And one of the kids that I worked with in Minnesota, that when he was like 5, 6 years old, I worked with the whole family. There were 4 kids that all play. The mom reached out to me. She said, hey, I'm going to be on your neck of the woods. And when I told my kid that we were going to go there, the first thing he said, he wanted to come and take a lesson with me because it was fun. So he came to the club. And the kid is 11 years old now. I worked with him when he was like 5 until he was like 4, until he was like 6, 7. Now he's 11 and he's a lefty, a very good player. He came to the club and he was super cute, and just to see that he wanted to still come and play with me again. This kid was with me, was Red Bull. I left Minnesota where he was just barely moving to Orange, and now the kid is playing national tournaments in 12. So like, what just happened here? But it's when you as a coach said, I must have done something wrong with the actual kid actually goes, hey, I want to go and see Bill. I want to go and take a lesson with Bill again. And he had an hour and a half session over there, and I brought one of my top kids to hit with him. That made my day. That made my day, because you go through sometimes that you have a lesson, you're like, oh, that was tough. But then you also have days that you come home and you say, that was so fun. But when you get that result, I guess whatever you did or whatever you're doing is not too bad. It's not too bad. And that's fun. That's good.
Yeah. And, I think if we all reflect on when we were younger and you know, when we were kids, we made mistakes and we did stupid things and we lacked discipline at times.
Mm-hmm.
And when a caring adult, you know, took the time to work with us on that, it made a difference. And then you know, maybe you don't appreciate them until later. One thing they say is that middle school teachers are maybe some of the least appreciated people on the planet, but the work that they do with middle school kids who are at such a vulnerable time in life pays off when they get to high school. Mm-hmm. So I think kids are a lot of times are appreciative of the unconditional love that they got when they were.
Oh yeah. Totally.
I mean, and kids younger than that, kids under 10, you know, can be outright nuts. I mean, they can be completely out of control. And you know, here's an interesting thing. They say that when kids get to be 9 years old, that their brains are growing so fast that they actually lose synaptical connections that they had made when they were 8. So now when they're 9, there's stuff they don't know anymore that they knew last year, and they're actually clinically insane.
What?
Yeah. No, think about it. I mean, 8-year-olds are usually pretty reasonable, and 9-year-olds are generally kind of nuts. And then by the time they're 10, they started recovering from all that.
It's maturity. It's growing up.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's move it along a little bit more. Let's get into more of an orange ball, because we had a nice tangent there. And see, but discipline is going to be part of it. It's going to be a big part of making the program run.
He's very
now,
big.
What kind of things do you do in orange ball that you don't do in red ball?
In beginners, we when we go to orange ball beginner, and then we have orange advanced. We don't do like an intermediate like you guys. You told me earlier you have 3 levels, like beginner, stroke, and the match play. We have the beginners where we actually encourage them to even still play. Those are the ones that hold their strokes part-time, but a lot of the times we move them up based on age. But they, like, some kids have the movement, but they don't have the stroke. Some kids have the stroke, they don't have the movement. It's not all. It's very few. Sometimes it's a needle in a haystack to have a kid at that age has everything, and you know that is tough. But in beginner, we still go through a lot of repetition. A lot of repetition. It's a different court. The kids are moving from a 36 to a 60. So we still go through repetition, and yeah, we do rally and stuff like that, but still a lot of repetition. And then in the advance, we do mostly live ball. You know, we do the dynamic warm up and all that, like in all the classes. So I don't want to get into detail of that, because that will be every class you have to go through that. But when we go, the difference between the beginner and the advance in orange is the ability to rally the ball between those 2 levels. So the advanced player, we expect the kid to have, you know, not only, like you said, sustain your stroke and start adding the spin to the ball more consistently with movement and more consistent point play, compared to the beginner kid where they can rally, but they're not consistent with their stroke and they're not consistent with spin. So I think that's the biggest difference into the beginner and the advanced in the orange, in the 2 levels that I have. We do also offer play for those.
I want to challenge people to think differently on one word, because the one word I really hate is consistency. All right. So now better word. All right, now here's why I don't like the word consistency, because I've never ever heard anyone ever say, I was happy with my consistency today.
Yeah.
So people, and so this like this, it's like this holy grail. It's like this unachievable thing, because you say consistency and you mean one thing, but what they hear is never miss. Because if you miss a shot, then you weren't consistent. So what I like to say is making more shots, or hitting the ball to the target that I want. So I like to be very specific about what I'm looking for, so that it's not this vague thing that has a very unknown meaning. So anyway, so I try to challenge people, try to use other words other than consistency. Hey, you're doing a great job of hitting to your targets. Hey, you're making a lot more shots in a row than you used to, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. You're capable of having a 7-shot rally now. Look like, because you were stuck on 5 before.
Yeah.
You know, so then it's like measurable, but we never give the message that you should never miss.
Mm-hmm. It is
So,
true. I mean, I use shot tolerance, and I tell the kids when we go into detail, I said, you better make sure that you make the last successful shot. You make the last successful shot. So that means that if I make it, you miss. I made the last one. Mm-hmm. Just kind of and giving them different views to the kids.
Yeah. Well, and I think also the problem with consistency is it makes people think about only having long rallies, but that's not how you win tennis. You win tennis by getting your first serve in and staying on offense with the first ball and taking control of the point, using shot combinations to attempt to do some first strike tennis. Because if you're first striking and the other guy's rallying, then the first striker who's got a plan on finishing that point sooner and better has a huge edge.
Right? You just did it. That's my point.
Yeah, I mean, like imagine a baseball pitcher that went out there and went, you know, I'm gonna consistently throw the same spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Well, no, you're gonna get, people are gonna hit 10 home runs against you today, right? Yeah. So they're going to intentionally throw a ball out of the strike zone to set up a ball in the strike zone, and they're gonna put the ball here and there to set up a pop up or a grounder, right? Yeah. Or to hit a certain side of the field. So it's about setting it up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that you use the baseball sample because, well, you know, I was a baseball player.
I know
I used so many analogies with baseball to coach the kids in tennis, and the funny thing is they understand it a lot better sometimes. There's a lot of these kids play multiple sports and play baseball, and I tell them that as a pitcher, because I coach first, I'm a big believer of first strike tennis at the top level, of course. When you're playing with the high performance kids that already are like competing and having success, kids that can play ball, first strike tennis, I tell them, hey guys, it is an important part that you focus on this first strike. When I was a pitcher, 99% of the hitters, the most important thing as a pitcher is you better get ahead on the count. It's not easy to pitch all the time being on the count 2-0 that when you're 0-1, 0-2. If I'm ahead on the count, I'm going to bully you.
First pitch strikes, baby.
And
first pitch
the first pitch strike is the importance of like a good solid return on serve. Good. That's why watching Djokovic play.
Okay, we're getting a little off task, but I think you got the gist of your orange ball thing, that it starts to be more about match play, right?
Yeah.
When the kids are going to green ball, so then also I heard from the orange ball that you're starting to look for more spin, you know? Yeah. How can they drive the ball with top spin and whatnot? Yeah. Now, what differentiates your green ball strategy in your program from orange ball?
What differentiate? It's a good question, man, but I'll tell you what I see different a lot of the times is not even it's more like movement and ball recognition skills. A lot of kids I find when they go from red to orange that they struggle recognizing the speed of the incoming shot and the depth, whether the ball is short or is it deep yet. Because you're moving from 36 to 60 feet. Some kids adapt really quick. Some kids don't adapt really quick. Some kids, you see them hit a ball instead of in the blue line, 60 foot, they have to go to the service line, hit, but they don't keep coming to the net. Or they just don't recover back. They just kind of get within those boundaries. Movement is huge.
Yes.
When it moves from orange to green, I mean, you're talking about 78 feet.
Right.
You're talking about a big thing. And sometimes you have kids that are 8 years old that are very talented, or 7 that can play green. I mean, I have an 8-year-old girl right now, an 8-year-old girl that is playing full on yellow ball with this kind and beating high school kids. When she was 6, she rallied 946 balls with me, changing patterns every 20 balls. But those are rare. But why is she able to do it? It's not because she just got good. She has incredible ways to recognize the incoming shot. Her reception skills are insane. And for some of these kids, when you're moving to orange to green, I believe that's why it's so important to teach these kids reception skills. If they don't understand, oh, that ball is coming faster, that ball is coming slower, that ball has topspin. Therefore, when that ball bounces, it's going to accelerate or it's going to bounce higher. Therefore, I need to take it early. I see still, even in my program, a lot of kids that lack that. And it's huge. It's huge. Because the kids that I have worked with that are very talented is interesting. Sometimes I don't even need to talk about that. They just do it. They just do it. It's a blessing. I wish we had more of those.
Yeah. Well, but let's think about that for a second. All right, so 60 to 78 is 18 feet more. I mean, that's 30% more court. So that is huge, right?
That's a lot.
And so I think that's really a great point that you make, that then it becomes a lot more about, ball recognition and movement. And so then you have to teach more movement patterns. They better be able to have a crossover step.
Yes, sir.
And they better recover, and they better also be able to move diagonally on the court to cut the ball off, rather than taking these sideways or excessively curving motions to go get the ball. I wanted to throw this in there too, is that I had a high school team that was mostly made up of USTA tournament players, and they're almost all of my kids were ranked in the top 100 in their section, and some kids were in the top 50. And we took a 15-minute period of time where I had them play each other using orange balls.
Oh,
and they thought this is going to be the stupidest thing ever, right? I'm like, don't worry, we're only going to do it for 15 minutes, right? And so they had them play little mini matches for a very short period of time. And then we got done with that, and I'm like, all right, what did you notice, right? What was different about using an orange ball as opposed to a yellow ball? Mm-hmm. And they, shot combinations. Like if I hit the ball short and then deep, or vice versa, that created this really big advantage. And I'm like, and it's true with the yellow ball. It's not pronounced. So now do you see that though? Use that now in your matches. I've been trying to tell you that forever.
Yeah.
Deep, short, deep combos. Then you make people move diagonally, and it's a farther distance, right? But now you've experienced it. So here, give me those orange balls back. We're never going to use them again. But learn that lesson. Here's another little tidbit. And I heard this from somebody. Just take it with a grain of salt. It might be a total lie, but I think it makes sense. Kids who also train with yellow balls, when they go and they play these tournaments with the green or the orange, they're wiping out the competition. So it's also make sure you train your better kids also with yellow balls.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. You have to. You have to.
All right.
The question is, when do you make that decision to turn them? What makes you, as Coach Bill, what do you need to see in the kid to use that yellow ball with that, let's say that 8-year-old? What would you do? What will make you decide if you can use a yellow ball with that?
If they're breathing and they have a pulse, are you breathing or you have a pulse, you're able to ambulate across the court, we're going to use some yellow balls. So in just about every private lesson that I have with a kid, we're using yellow balls.
Okay.
Because I can control that environment. So exactly. I can make the feed go where I want. I can hit the ball closer to their strike zone. I can stretch them out a little bit more when the time is right. So because I can control that environment, then we're using yellow balls almost exclusively. Now, if I'm going to play a game against the kid, now we're getting out the orange balls or green balls. So if once it turns into a pretend competitive situation, then I get the appropriate ball out for their age for what they're going to compete with.
Yeah.
And then I also try to hit like a kid their age. You know, so you know,
I told myself how to play opposite hand.
I go, hey, am I hitting like a 12-year-old girl now? Is this how it feels?
How to play right hand.
Is this how it feels to you when you're playing your opponents? Should I hit harder, higher, more topspin? What should I do, right?
Yeah, I tell coaches when they're teaching the little kids serving, I said, serve a ball opposite hand and you probably will feel what they're feeling. I can play anybody right-hander. But serving right-hander, I can do it, but it's not pretty.
Oh, because you're lefty, huh?
Yes, I'm a lefty. I have very good strokes right-handed, but when it comes to serving, it's so hard. It's so hard. And it's good to do that because you put yourself into the same mindset of that kid. You're literally, I probably fall a lot. I do some things that is very challenging. It taught me a lot when I started doing that years ago. I'm going to learn right-hander. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's good for a tennis pro's health to use your non-dominant hand to play kick with because it balances you out. It's good for your brain. I tell the kids this. I'm like, you have to beat me left-handed before you get to play me right-handed.
Exactly.
Why should I play right-handed if I can be left-handed?
Exactly. Exactly. I did that with that's how I did with my son, but it didn't take him long to bite me, so I was fine. Now I can really beat him left-handed, so it's fine.
No, it's good. All right, so let's wrap this up. What are some of the key takeaways? I mean, I think we can probably come up with 5 good takeaways. You go first, then I'll go, and we'll just kind of ping pong until we run out.
Well, 5 from the takeaways, I would say the proper staffing. We spoke about that. Having the proper pros teaching the proper class, that it doesn't have to be a top player like you mentioned. It has to be somebody with the proper education and understanding of how to develop players, not just to teach players.
Okay, good. Thank you. That's 1. All right, now it's my turn.
That's right. Okay.
So
I thought you wanted to say
organize the program for the kids. Don't try to stuff the kids into the program. So if you need to make another orange ball class, make another orange ball class. You know, as soon as you get enough kids for green ball, start a green ball class. You know, if you need to shrink the number of red ball classes because the kids are graduating so fast, then do it. So season to season, I hope that you have the flexibility to be able to go, all right, it's winter, and in the spring, we're going to change the program like this. So parents, tell us your schedule conflicts so that we can take that into mind when we're organizing for the spring. Okay, number 3, go.
Number 3, fun. Make it balanced. Let's just say not fun only, balance. Remember, we talk about not only fun. You have to have your discipline and you need to have your fun part. Where keep it to a balance, but I believe on the red ball and the orange ball, fun needs to kind of overcome a little bit of things as long as you can keep the discipline. So I think once you earn the respect of the player, discipline is easy. Then the fun comes in. It gives them. I just want kids to come in to play tennis because they love the sport, not because mom and dad are making them go. And that's why it's fun with kids.
Because here's what will happen in a red ball class. A kid will hit a ball up in the air and it will bounce off their head.
Yeah.
And that's funny. That's fun. So just have fun with it. All right. Here's another one. Have a very clear criteria for what it takes to go from one level to the next. I strongly suggest that it be based on the fact that they have shown competency in their technique. Because one of the worst practices of 10 and under tennis is that coaches think that the balls are the magic, but no, it's the coaching that is the magic. And you want to be able to teach them all the skills of tennis. They need to be able to hit spins. They need to be able to play at the net. They need to be able to serve well. You could even teach them some drop shots and lobs and all of that to get them going. Okay. Number 5.
I think number 5 is a big one. It's big. Teach the kids how to play tennis. Teach them to play. If you look at soccer, look at baseball, look at basketball, doesn't matter how old you are, the first day you get into the basketball court, they're going to teach you how to shoot the basket and play. Even if it's pickleball. If you go into a soccer game, first day, what are they going to do? Well, let's go play. They're going to teach you how to kick, put scores in. Regardless of teaching you the technique or how to kick that soccer ball, they're scoring goals. They're going to let them score. They're going to let them play. Baseball, they're going to put that ball on the tee, hit, boom, run. They teach you how to catch while a kid is practicing hitting. We have to teach the kids how to play. A lot of people, it's important to feed kids. It is important to make repetition. It's important to teach a stroke. But if you don't teach how to play, you're developing robots. That then when the kid is it's the truth. It's the truth. I look at a robot because then you have a kid on the court that looks like $1 million, but can't win. Can't win. And at the end of the road, I mean, yeah, I don't want to have the best 10-year-old in the country, but but I do want to have the best 16, 17-year-old in the country. But to have the best 16, 17-year-old in the country, you need to teach that kid at 8 how to play. Yeah. So they start, because kids need to learn how to fail. Kids need to learn that losing is part of the process. That you learn probably more from losing than winning. And in my opinion, from when I was touring quite a bit with juniors, this is so funny. A lot of the times I see my kids play, and they win, and they play absolutely terrible. Just the opponent was that much worse, and they win. I don't say much. We sit on the car and said, wow, so how do you feel? Oh, I play, and they give you many reasons. It was all good. I said, all right. When they lose, sometimes they play better and they lose. But they have 10 to 15 different excuses why they lost. You know, they'll give you a big list. They focus too much on that. And we have to teach these kids to compete. We have to teach them to play. That's key. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people focus too much on just ball feed, ball feed, ball feed. You got to be able to balance that. Always incorporate playing points in your lessons.
Okay, great. That's a wrap right there. No, I let you go on there for a while because I thought that was a really good finish to what we're doing here. Because the reason why that's the great final word is because red, orange, green should be about the kids playing the game because they can, because the balls allow them to do that. So, all right, Irwin, thank you so much for coming on, and let's do this again sometime. And I know that you're working on a project where you're going to be creating some content on how to do this stuff really well. So good luck to you on that. And so you can reach me at 720degreecoaching@gmail.com. So if you want to reach out to me, I will gladly confer with you. I'll give you a 20-minute consultation if you're watching this. Irwin, how can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook through Irwin Montalvo, or they can actually go to our page from my club, BeAirRacketClub.com, and they can see my information and programming there. But through Facebook is where most people will find me. You know, I'm very active into sharing things, and I'm grateful to know a lot of people like yourself that we can share ideas, and we learn every day. A good coach is a better student. So we learn every day, my friend.
All right. Take care, amigo.
Good to see you, Bill. Good seeing you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.